I used to believe that the person who brought you into the world would always be the one who wanted you to live in it fully. I believed that mother meant safety, unconditional love, and protection. I believed that if something hurt inside a family, it was my responsibility to endure it quietly. What I didn't understand then was that toxicity does not disappear simply because it wears the name of love. Sometimes the most damaging psychological environments are the ones society teaches you to defend at all costs. He thought he understood his mind, but what he didn't know was that a resource existed that could help him rebuild his life. You'll find it in the description and comments. At the time, I didn't know I was living under the influence of a narcissistic mother. I only knew that I was constantly anxious, constantly shrinking, constantly questioning my worth in the one place I was supposed to feel safe. From the outside, everything looked normal. She was admired, respected, even praised for being strong. But inside her home, love was conditional. Approval was currency. And affection was given only when I reflected the image she wanted to see. If I succeeded, it was because of her. If I failed, it was because I was ungrateful, weak, or disloyal. My emotions were never simply heard. They were judged, minimized, or turned against me. When I was hurt, I was told I was dramatic. When I set boundaries, I was accused of being selfish. When I tried to be myself, I was made to feel like a betrayal. This is one of the most devastating signs of a narcissistic mother. Your identity is allowed only if it does not threaten her control. The manipulation was not always loud. Sometimes it came as guilt. After everything I've done for you. Sometimes it came as comparison. Why can't you be more like? Sometimes it came as emotional withdrawal. Silence that punished me for not performing correctly. I learned to read her moods the way others read weather patterns. I adjusted my tone, my opinions, even my dreams, to avoid emotional consequences. I became hyper-aware, hyper-responsible, and hypercritical of myself. And slowly, without realizing it, I stopped trusting my own emotions. Isn't it terrifying how easily a child can be taught that their pain does not matter? What made it even more confusing was the cultural expectation, but she's your mother. As if biology automatically cancels abuse. As if love is proven by endurance. As if suffering in silence is loyalty. I tried for years to fix the relationship. I explained myself. I apologized for feelings I didn't understand. I tried to be better, quieter, smaller. But the truth was this: no amount of compliance ever brought peace, because the problem was not who I was. It was the system itself. A narcissistic dynamic does not seek connection, it seeks control. And a child raised in that environment grows up believing that love must be earned through self-erasure. The breaking point did not come in a dramatic argument. It came in exhaustion. In a moment when I realized I was no longer living my life, I was surviving her expectations. My thoughts were filtered through what would disappoint her. My choices were measured against how they would be perceived. I was an adult, yet still emotionally confined. And I asked myself a question that changed everything. If this were not my mother, would I allow this treatment in my life? The answer was immediate, no. And that was when I finally allowed myself to consider the option everyone tells you is unthinkable: no contact. Going no contact is not about hatred. It is about survival. It is the final boundary when all others are violated. It is the recognition that you cannot heal in the same environment that continues to wound you. The decision tore me apart at first. Guilt was loud. Fear was relentless. Society's voice echoed in my head. You're ungrateful. You're cruel. You're abandoning your family. But beneath that noise, there was something else. A quiet truth I could no longer ignore. Staying was destroying me. The realization was painful, but also liberating. I was not obligated to sacrifice my mental health to preserve someone else's image. I was not responsible for managing her emotions. I was not required to keep explaining my humanity to someone who benefited from denying it. For the first time, I chose myself, not out of anger, but out of clarity. Rebuilding after a narcissistic parent is not immediate. The damage runs deep. I had to relearn what safety felt like, what boundaries meant, what it was like to make decisions without anticipating punishment. I had to untangle my self-worth from her approval. I had to confront the anxiety, the hypervigilance, the internalized criticism that had lived in my mind for years. And I had to ask myself difficult questions. Who am I when I'm no longer trying to be enough for someone who will never be satisfied? Healing was not dramatic. It was quiet. It was choosing peace over explanation, distance over dysfunction, self-respect over inherited guilt. Today, when I reflect on what it means to survive a toxic, narcissistic mother, I understand this. Love that requires your disappearance is not love. Family that demands your silence is not safety. And boundaries are not cruelty, they are self-preservation. No contact was not the end of my story. It was the beginning of it. At the end of his journey, he discovered guidance in a resource that helped him face anxiety and rebuild his life. You can access it too. The link is in the description and comments. Healing is not about revenge. It is about reclaiming authorship of your life. It is about learning that you are allowed to protect your mind, even from those who raised you. The child who once believed they had to endure everything can become the adult who chooses peace. And in that transformation, something extraordinary happens. The past loosens its grip, and the future finally feels like your own. True freedom begins in the mind, and only then appears in life. If this story resonated with you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and continue this journey with us as we uncover toxic minds and rebuild stronger ones together.